I'm Kelly Meerbott. I'm the CEO and principal of You Loud and Clear Incorporated, which is a coaching, training, development, human transformation business. And I am fortunate enough to be joined by Uwe Dockhorn, who is part of our global cohort of coaches. And in my opinion, one of the treasures of this world. And I'm just grateful that he has decided to join us from Germany and talk about an exciting project he has coming up. So, Uwe, I'm going to just toss it over to you and maybe tell us a little bit about you and what it is that you do.
Fantastic. So thank you for the opportunity, Kelly. I appreciate you very much. So it's really an honor to be here with you today. And thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. Wonderful. So as you just mentioned, I'm Uwe Dockhorn. I'm based in Germany. And when I'm not traveling around the world, I'm here stuck, as most of us are. And I'm known as the Lifestyle Liberator worldwide. And I'm the founder of the AIM system. That's a 3-step transformational experience for in-demand professionals and their spouses or life partners, or as we call them, VIPs, the very important partners in your life. And, about me, I believe strongly in cultivating, the internal certainty and clarity that improve their outcomes financially, in business, and emotionally in relationships, which is super, super important. And, in fact, I would say also something about me, what, some say it's a superpower. For me, it's kind of like to decipher patterns in couple or family relationships and translate them in a way into a straightforward, actionable framework that makes the patterns visible, understandable, and adjustable, which is the most important part.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things that I loved about our first discussion was, and I know I've shared with you and I've shared with a lot of people that I work with high-ranking officers in the military around emotional intelligence and emotional well-being. And what I have found is if the norm in the family is stable, steady, loving, everything else falls into place, right? So I guess my question to you is really why, I mean, of all the things that you could focus on, of all the niches that we coaches could focus on, why the family? Why? I mean, I know why, but I'd love for you to share with our audience.
Thank you. It really found me. Let's put it that way. So what it essentially was kind of like an evolvement over the years. So I'm doing this for more than 15,000 coaching sessions now, more than 14 years in total. And so I started out with, executives, business owners, medical professionals, and over time, of course, most of them have their spouses or life partners, and it was just naturally being asked, can you become my coach too from the VIPs? They say, look, I love what you do with my husband, my spouse. And it's just like, it just came to me. And then when I started working with them, I was realizing that at this level of, high achiever families, of these, really executive level people that, at home, there's a pattern that occurred that I was aware of, and it just really hit me that typically what happens in these families is that typically where you have one sole provider, bread bringer, so to speak, from the perspective of the VIP, they too often feel they are down here, while the provider is kind of like up here. And so there's an imbalance in their relationship, but it has effects on their family life immediately. And so when I realized that, I thought to myself, look, I think we can address the issue here. And I'm not a family counselor or similar like that. I'm a systemic coach. So what I do and what differentiates me also, what I do differently is I coach both of them, but individually. And it's really to start getting them, to regain their independence within their relationship first. So that's what we aim for at the beginning. It's really because, when they, we all know this. In relationships, there's always one part of the relationship is more dependent on the other. But in these kind of relationships, it's a huge distance of too often. And so
Yeah.
it's really about creating that independence within the relationship for each and every one for themselves first. And there's always kind of like the looming big D at the horizon, the divorce, of course. Divorce rates now in COVID times have increased also, because we stick together and we have to deal with each other. So it's kind of like many couples, not most, but many couples are not used to that because they're kind of like, they're just not being as all together all the time and for so long time. So therefore, the big D is kind of like looming at the horizon. And in my experience, it's like, it's kind of like a divorce is something like living a life in independence outside of a marriage.
Say more about that.
So meaning like, after you've divorced, you aim for independence. It just was one driver during, the divorce is just the final point. But, if you go back some steps, it just all left to that point where, you feel like you can't express yourself, you're not appreciated, you don't have your own space, or just feel abandoned too often, or ask yourself, what about me? What's the next step in my career? You just feel not seen. This happens mostly to the very important partners. So a divorce is just the final piece in that equation that divides them into separate ways. So my solution, as I became aware of this, over the years, is to help them to live an independent life within their marriage while they're still married, so to speak.
Yeah, first of all, like there's so many things I want to address, like with what you were talking about with divorce. I mean, there were people in my life, like, and I wouldn't say they were in the inner circle. I would say probably like the outer circles that started separating. And I was like, oh God. And then I started thinking through it and I thought, well, if you were living in a world where your partner, say, is a high-powered attorney and they leave the house at like 6 a.m. and they don't return till 8 o'clock at night, you've got that big stretch of time where you're not with them. And now all of a sudden you're with them in the same space, and any issue that maybe was swept under the rug by overworking is now presenting itself. So it's interesting to hear that you're seeing in Germany what we've been seeing in the States, which is unfortunately and fortunately, I would say a higher divorce rate. And the reason I say fortunately is if you're not meant to be with that person, give yourself the opportunity to find that person, that completes you. And then the other thing I was thinking about when you were talking about two independent lives, I remember, when I got married, and I got married later in life at 32, we've been married, it'll be 14 years in April, and he's my best friend. He is just the most amazing human. I mean, he's not perfect, like drives me crazy too. Like the man could not put his socks in the hamper to save his life, but like out of the grand scheme of thing. But I always thought when I was not, I mean, I don't want to say actively seeking, because there was at one point I was like, nope, I'm going to be by myself. But I know the way I approached marriage was as if, and stay with me, as if I was like a cake. And what I mean by that is, imagine what's your favorite cake? What's your favorite cake out of all of them, Uwe? What do you love?
Well, you don't know that I grew up in hospitality. We had a coffee shop. We baked our own cakes, so you don't know that yet of me. So there were several stages of like what was my preferred cakes, that were kind of like changed over times. Nowadays I don't eat cake anymore. But coming back, I think it was
namesake? What would be your favorite if it was your
I,
last on earth?
I think it was a mixture. It was kind of like an Austrian recipe of a chocolate cream mixture. So very lofty, very chocolatey, and with cream in it. So yeah.
So imagine like you're that cake, the cake part, right? Without the cream, without the icing and everything. And that cake is delicious. It's moist. You can eat it on its own, right? But then comes in that beautiful light Austrian cream and you put it on there and now it's at another level, right? It's
Mm.
enhanced. It's up another level, meaning you can eat that cake on its own and it's delicious, it's independent, but when you add the icing, it's enhanced and at another level. And that's sort of the way I approached marriage. I didn't need somebody to complete me. I had my own money, I had my own home, I had all of that. I wanted somebody who was going to enhance me in the sense where when he, for in my sake, saw me falling short of my highest potential, would gently say, that's not what we're working towards, or things like that. But I think especially in the States, and especially with the prevalence of social media, I think that we're in this comparison game where you think it has to be this perfect, picture perfect thing, and there, once you're married, your spouse is everything. And and I think that really is a recipe for disaster, because you're looking for
Mm.
somebody externally to fill that void within you. And really what they need to do is come alongside you and enhance you, like that delicious cake that now I have to come into Germany and have with you.
Of course. Of course you do.
I had no idea you were in hospitality before. It makes perfect sense though, because of who you are. But so that was the first thing, is I think, and I'm sure that you see that in your own work with families, like where there are people who are like, their spouse is everything. They won't go anywhere without their spouse. I mean, in the military, I had this one woman who literally would not leave the house without her
Mm.
husband, because he was a highly decorated general. And her identity was all tied to him. So she was
Yeah.
him and everybody with it. You see what I mean? And like, to me, that just, it doesn't solely or heart led feel in alignment. So I'm sure you probably see that a lot with the
Absolutely. No, you're making an excellent point here, Kelly, because it's really about when I mentioned the independence, for each and every one within that relationship and the marriage, it's so important, because it's just just to get there is kind of like the first step. And then, because then you are able to upgrade, and this is what my program, the AIM system, does, is kind of like you help them to upgrade to the next level of an ideal relationship, and that's to go to the interdependence, which ideally means being eye to eye again, cherishing each other's independence, and supporting each other in their dependencies. Independence. So, and that is kind of like where it's all coming down. But it's not so much talked about. It's not so much so common to understand, because it's rooted in personal development, but within the constellation of the family. And of course, as life partners or as couples, you have this of course this history of societal patterns and influences of how a marriage should be even today. So, and it's kind of like well, what is it now? It's 2022, right? So I think we are ready to develop ourselves and our lives, our families, and our partnerships with our chosen ones. And so, and as you mentioned earlier, also just want to make that point also to highlight that one more time. It's so important that the cherry on the cake means like, yeah, you complement each other, but it's kind of like, you get to the next level of yourself
right.
with the support of each other. And you can only reach that level when you are independent for yourself, because it's about personal development. You can't become, you've spoken to the identity, because that is what I help them to gain, each of them, to really step into their true why, into their identity, who they are as persons, without any, old sticky family patterns,
Yeah.
without all, the the overthinking and false beliefs and all that, and totally questioning themselves. So without that, just imagine that, how liberating that would be within a relationship. So and that's what my company is called Liberating Lifestyles for a reason. So it's really about liberating the lifestyles of these families. And so this is what I really love to do. And for me, it really goes also back to my own family. And unfortunately, my core family, my mom, as you know, died 6 days before Christmas, 2016. And so she was really the last remaining member of my family. And I was there for her in that very moment, holding her hands when she left. And this was really kind of like a moment where I once again realized how important family is,
Yeah.
as long as you have one. And
Yeah.
so, and that is kind of like also gave me also the push to like, yeah, I really want to make, because it always I remember, the times when we were all together. And as you might know, my uncle died when I was 16, my dad died when I was 23. So, I grew up with a lot of loss around me. And so my early good memories and great memories, I'm still having goosebumps about, is before they died, because we were all together. We were big, huge Adams kind of like family, with all kinds of facets. And but I loved it. It was kind of like my safe haven.
Yeah.
And so this is why I'm doing this, is really kind of like create, my coaching should be a safe haven in the world.
Right. Well, I mean, there are so many things that we can unpack there. And like, um, when you were talking about, what year are we in? And I often think about the conditioning and how literally everything in our world is made up. Everything. Like, and the analogy I like to use, if you think about it, back in the day, we used our hands to eat, right? Like, this is fine. This
Mhm.
works, right? But somebody somewhere said, nope, nope, we've got to use forks, knives, and spoons. And we bought into it. We really don't need those. These work fine, right? They work fine. So I think the concept of family and marriage um, really needs to be defined by the people that are involved, meaning like my husband and I, we were talking recently after a trip to New York before it all closed down again. And we were sitting there and I was saying something about one of his family members, and I love his family. Like, I am very blessed. I have great in-laws. And I was like, but I don't understand, like, blah, blah, blah. And my husband looked at me and he goes, you don't understand. There are people that I see once or twice a year. The only people that matter in this relationship are you and me, and that's it. And that's what I mean by concept is like, I used to think, because I grew up in an Italian family where everybody was in everybody's business, and like, that's what it was, right? Including marriages. And when I met my husband, he was like, no, no, it's you and me, not you, me, mom, cousins, and all of that. And while that's fine for some people, and if that works for you, I'm not judging that. Just for me, it didn't work. And so I think part of one of the beautiful things that you bring to the table is that just because we have this definition of marriage doesn't mean that's the only definition of marriage. And I would even challenge that paradigm and say, whatever marriage looks like to you, whether it's Kelly and Brian, or Uwe and whoever he chooses, or my friend Jonathan and Steve, or my friends, Carolyn and her wife, or whatever that looks like. If you're I don't care. Like, if love is present, it doesn't matter, you know? And I think what you're doing is not only repairing the family structure, I think you're rewriting the definition of what it means to be married and be in a relationship.
Oh,
And that
thank you for, yeah.
it's, it needs to be done. It has
Yeah,
to.
no, you so, yeah. No, you're absolutely right, and thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. And it's, you know, there's also a societal aspect to the whole thing, because in my book and my experience, it's about, you know, the family is the smallest unit of a community, and so if we want to strengthen our communities around the world to create, as I, in my words, never-ending impact, we need to strengthen the roots. We need to strengthen our families,
Yeah,
and so that is what my vision is. What you know, what I'm aiming as a higher goal to achieve, as my, what I see as my mission, is really to create something for them, so that we can really gather around and be in families, whatever the constellation may be. But
yeah,
it's really about, and that's also what, you know, why I'm also so proud to have kind of like, we have 9 topics for my upcoming summit also, and one
yes,
of them is equality. And so not only within the family, but also in the external world, from each and every member of the family to the outside world. So, and I'm really proud of the group of experts I could gather.
yeah,
So this is really kind of like me expressing a way of like creating that community for them, for you and your loved one, for you and your VIP and your loved ones.
yeah. I mean, and I think it's genius, and I think it's well needed. And like I said, that's one of the reasons why I say to my military clients, "What's the norm in your household? You
Mm.
know, what is it?" And it's just so, it's such an important structure that we need to make sure is strengthened. And then you know, what I was thinking about as I was listening to you is how much we can learn from the animal kingdom. You know, how I was thinking about there, I just heard about how elephants, when there's an injured baby, the entire elephant herd will surround the baby and make
Mhm.
sure like nothing penetrates that, you know. And it's the same thing. It's strengthening those individuals so that they can come together and be a stronger structure. So but tell us more about the summit, like, and how
Mhm.
that came to mind and how people can participate. Um, I was going to be a speaker, but unfortunately, I had some major surgery a couple of weeks ago, so I'm not at my best, and I don't like to do anything there where I'm not at my best. So I am going to be there in spirit and hopefully be invited back to the next one. But you know, talk to me about YFM, what that means, how people can sign up, and let's talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. And before we go there, let me just say this, because you already spoiled a little bit about the elephants, because I will talk about something that's a foundational principle of my AIM assistant program, and it's the elephant thinking effect. And so I will talk about this on the summit, so we will get into that when you get there. So, but also I want to say, you are invited whenever you want to come, so feel free. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities in this year to meet again, Kelly. I appreciate it very much.
I
So
appreciate you, and the work you're doing is so necessary and important. And at some point also, Uwe, if you're after we talk about the summit, I would like to, you and I, to kind of distinguish for whoever's on this LinkedIn Live, the difference between coach, therapist, psychiatrist, and consultant, because there's very, very, very different distinctions. So we can table that
sure.
until after we talk about it, because I think what you and I touch on a lot is we come up against the therapy piece, but both of us are smart enough professionals to know where our training ends and that begins. So, but I'm sorry about the elephants, but
no, it was just, no, it was a good segue. So thank you for that.
I think, to myself a lot, like I'm doing a lot of writing, and it's a lot about fables, and a lot of them have animals, and when I was studying elephants, I was like, oh my goodness,
Amazing creatures, amazing animals. This is fantastic, right?
creatures. And like, I saw something, I can't remember where, one of the elephant mothers was killed, either it was poaching or whatever, and this orphan elephant was left, and the herd surrounded it, and one of the mothers ended up adopting it, like
Adopting it, yeah.
without thinking, and just caring for this elephant. And it's like, it's so simple.
Yeah, we just have to open our eyes, right?
And question all the concepts that we've been fed, like forks and knives, right? We've been fed that, and we just took
too much.
So, all right. So how did the inspiration for the summit come first? How did that come?
The inspiration is really, twofold. So on the one side, I for long had the idea of, creating that platform for these high achiever families, but also for families in itself, and creating that community. So that kind of like is driving me since, my work started already. But then when I started doing my podcast, Lift Off with Energizing Results, and with you amazing guests, you've been to my podcast as a guest, and I sorry,
I love your podcast.
oh, thank you. And so, and at one point, doing this week after week after week, and I just thought, I want to give back to all my amazing guests, experts, sharing their knowledge, their insights, and their goosebumps moments. So that's also what my podcast is known for, to create a goosebumps moment at the end of it every time. And so really wanted to give back to them, and say, okay, I invited all of you and said, look, here it is. This is something I'm really passionate about. I really want to bring to fruition. You want to be part of it, and you accepted, and many more. We have over 48, I think, experts now, and the quality and besides the quantity is amazing. So I'm really thrilled and honored by so many intelligent, smart people and experts. So this is how it came by. And essentially it's for, if you and your spouse or life partner want to live an extraordinary family life full of love and adventure, and as we mentioned earlier, kind of like a liberating feeling. And if you feel that, the things aren't going that way, so you both wish they would for you as a couple and as parents, especially for during these COVID times, if you think you might be seeing cracks in your family's foundation and you want to repair the damage before it gets any deeper, or, the big D is always looming, then YFM, which stands for Your Family Matters, is the solution for you, because your family matters.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking about goosebumps all the time, and so goosebumps is the topic, because it's really about creating. So if you join us, the event is free. It's happening this Friday, starting at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, and it's 6 p.m. CET, Central European Time. And it goes over 3 days, and we have these 3 topics created for each day. So the first day is going to be under the topic of feel. The second day is know. And the third day is, of course, do. So, and we want you to walk away, with at least 12 goosebumps moments to enjoy with your family in the coming year, so in 2022. So, and what we prepared for all those who want to join us is, besides besides these amazing experts that typically come for 3 live panels on Saturday, and we also created a Goosebumps video library consisting of all of you experts during my podcast. We just collected the pieces about the Goosebumps. A question, so the question was, when was the last time you experienced goosebumps with your family and why? And we just took those pieces and put it together and have kind of like to explore this library to get inspired, to plan out at least one goosebump moment with your family over the next 12 months. So you can reconnect and re-energize with a renewed appreciation for each other and kick off 2022 on the right foot. So this is what this is all about, and why the Goosebumps moments are so important in a family, because you can easily create them. Nobody is so aware of them, because just imagine, what you want to do, who haven't you met for a long time in your family, especially in COVID times. But we want to, engage with you so you can create some fun, adventurous way, even on Zoom. It doesn't matter. We can create something so together, so you create these Goosebumps memories that actually will remain forever as really memories in your family, and keep them alive so that you can always cherish and go back to. And so, and this is so important to do that. And I'm also committed, because we also created a Facebook group where I'm committed to give you ongoing support weekly, 30 minutes. I'm going to show up there to keep you on track for success and as this close-knit, loving family. And also, you can share with your thoughts, your insights, and shares with the community, with the other participants, the other YFMers, as we say already saying, and keep you accountable, and make this thing really an ongoing experience for you.
Yeah, I think that was something that you and I connected on with the Goosebumps moments, because I use those as well. Because I think for so long before, and I've been calling the pandemic the Great Pause for a long time, because we were all rushing around doing things and disconnected, not only from people in our lives, but ultimately from ourselves, and when I started working with the military back in February of 2020, one of the things we work on is creating your why, and like using your why to drive the what. And I always say, you've hit the correct why when you get goosebumps, because your body knows first. And I think by you creating a space where you're facilitating goosebump moments, and Uwe and I had I think we had like 12 in a half hour the first time we were on this podcast.
Exactly. So we're leading the gang, so to speak.
So I just think, when you do attend YFM, and I do highly, highly recommend that you do. First of all, it's free. Second of all, it's easily accessible. Third, you've got somebody like Uwe who is not only living, but guiding you, and the 48 experts and all of this other value. Leave yourself open to goosebump moments, because that's your gateway to connect back to yourself. And your body knows. We're primally wired to know these things before our minds do. It goes back to when we lived in caves, and that was our defense mechanism. But we also know how to calm ourselves down through the polyvagal nerve theory and all of that. And I'm sad that I can't be there, but I know it's going to be incredible. And like I said, I highly recommend that you take the time to do this. It's 3 days out of your life that could build a lifetime of success in your family. Why wouldn't you want that? And why wouldn't you want 12 goosebump moments either?
Yes.
you know,
just come with us and join us in the Goosebumps hunt. And we created a little, treasure hunt, so you can. We want to make it fun, so you can collect Goosebumps points, GBPs as we call them. And so we created a little leaderboard, because you can also win something. You can win an VIP accelerator day for you and your spouse or life partner with me personally, valued at $7,500. So there's no reason why not to join, and to just go to uwedockhorn.com/YFM. That's UWEDOCKHORN.com/YFM.
yeah,
Your family matters.
yeah.
That's why we're doing this.
Okay, so I love that. Are you okay with us pivoting back to that distinction?
Sure.
Okay. So one of the things that I've been seeing a lot of during the pandemic is people who have finally decided to leave corporate. Now, Uwe, you know my story. I was let's say I'm laid off. I was going to say launched out of corporate on my butt, but that's really literally I was leveraged into something else. It really helped me do that. But a lot of people are leaving corporate and all of a sudden hanging their shingles and becoming coaches, which I'm always a fan of coaches. I think, everybody should have a coach. Everybody should have a care team that helps you. I agree with that. But what I see some coaches coming dangerously close to, which concerns me, is tipping over that boundary between coaching and psychiatry and therapy. And I think it's important for you and I to make that distinction. Like for me, coaching is about taking a look at what's happened and what informs what you're doing now, but creating solutions in the future so that doesn't repeat itself. And then therapy for me works on the wounds of the past, right? Heals those so that you can move forward in the present. And then of course the psychiatry brings in the medical piece, which is, has to do with serotonin levels and, dealing with, chemical imbalances and the mind-body connection. And then the final piece is the consultants, where if you hire a consultant, they're coming in to solve a problem for you. Like, I don't know, maybe you have a dysfunctional team and your job is to pull the team together. That's the solution. Whereas coaches believe that you have all the answers inside yourself, and it's our jobs to pull away the noise and distraction that numbs that out or tamps that down. So I'd just love to hear your thoughts on those four distinctions and how you see them, and why would somebody come to you to help with their family versus going to a marriage counselor?
No, I totally agree with you and the definition you just gave. So, and just briefly that, of course, I think the biggest discrepancy is between a consultant and a coach, because in my book, a consultant has knowledge and you have lesser knowledge as the consultee. So it's kind of like, you will, at one point, he gives you knowledge, but you never get to the same level. So it's always kind of like a little bit ahead of you. While in coaching, you are eye to eye from the start. And I have created these 6 coaching principles so that are, it really goes like clients are resourceful, as you mentioned, and they have all the answers to their own problems within themselves. And that follows, excuse me. And from this, that the coach's role is to work with the client to access that resourcefulness. And the essence of an effective coach is to ask skillful questions. I always refer to myself, I'm just a questioning tool here. I'm just here giving you the best, the right question at the right moment in time that someone needs. But it's always about the agenda of your coachee. And so in that regard, as a systemic coach, I know we are all systems, and it's really falling back to, so how to understand your own system so you can change the levels at the right level of your own system. And only the coachee can do that, guided with help from the coach. But that's, I think, is the biggest differentiator. And this is the level I work with. Of course, there come in a lot of other stuff. You lean towards developments in the 90s when the NLP came up. So also influences of that and manifesting, or it just merges over time. But I'm also not so much a friend of kind of like the Freudian or approach, meaning like that it's more like, in my opinion, it's more like there are too many drawers, kind of like in an old pharmacy where you have a drawer for this, a drawer for that, a drawer for that. So that's kind of like, outsourcing the problem in a way and putting it into drawers, which is not, I think, effective enough. It can work, but it's not effective enough in my experience. So I would always come back to that, eye to eye level of being eye to eye with your client and with your coachee, and they are equals, so to speak. And the partnership is based on mutual respect and trust, and it's really about identifying positive changes, and I will help them to make positive improvements in their life so they can easier implement and manifest those changes.
Yeah.
Hence my program, activation. So there's something we need to activate. We haven't talked about this, but I will talk a lot about this on the summit. Is we all have something I call your own goosebumps on switch, for example, and how this came by, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and why this is so important, why it changed my life when I experienced it. We talk about this on the summit. And so this is kind of like the the elements that are, I take as principles, you take as principles, and are really important just to distinguish ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of that is spot on. And one of the things in my very initial session with a client is I always set ground rules, and one of them is I'm not here to tell you what to do, not here to judge you. I'm here to share information, and I do that through the use of stories that I have permission to tell. I never reveal who the story is about. I may kind of be very generic about it. And I always say, I'm only telling you these stories not to egoically impose my beliefs on you, but to show you and share with you some information that will help you make the best decision for you. And hopefully that's a positive choice, and because I think influence doesn't work. I mean, it may
No.
term, but it doesn't.
No, the change happens in yourself. It comes from within, as we know that, and you need to allow it yourself. So therefore, you have to set up this. And I always invite my clients to the safe and neutral space, and tell them the more, open and honest you answer the questions that will come up to yourself within a session, the more effective this call will be for you. If that's okay with you, we can move on. And if, I won't push you, but I will always ask you, is that okay if we go deeper? And if they say yes, they have the chance to say yes. If they're not ready yet, I won't push them, never. So that's not what a coach should do. So it's not about, I'm all standing for energizing results, but not just, this is the outcome that, you gain when you work with me. But it's not about, just for the results. It's really about, it's transformation. Coaching is transformation. I think that's also differentiated to consulting, because it can be change in regards of consulting, but typically it's most of the time it's just more knowledge, more insights, bringing. Maybe you implemented, okay, that's kind of, but then we also entering the space of mentoring, or also being part of a training or an implementation program. So, and therefore you don't actually need more kind of like an instructor to tell you, oh, this is how it's done, so this is how you implement it. And that's also a different role in that regard. But I think coaches, yeah, so it just evolves over time, but I think it's still, in my opinion, the best. Of course, what happened to me, so it's kind of like it found me at one point, and but I think it's the most efficient and effective way in transformation.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And it's always permission based. And I think to your point, one of the number one, well, not one, the number one thing you need to look for when you're looking for a coach, whether it's me or Uwe or whoever, or a mental health practitioner, is, can I be honest, transparent, and truthful and vulnerable enough to be that with this practitioner, and is this practitioner holding a space that is psychologically safe enough for me to be myself, and if not, they're not the right fit for you, and I
Yeah.
say to my clients in the beginning, you should not trust me in the first session. Absolutely not. That's crazy to think that you could. Trust is built over time. But if you trust yourself enough and you want the change enough, I'll walk alongside you, and any fire we encounter, we'll walk through together, and I'll show you how you're fireproof. You know what I mean? That's it. But the true transformation, I mean, bearing witness to that. And you said, I think over 14,000 coaching hours. I think I'm somewhere probably around 13 or something like that for doing this for 13 years. But that is what keeps me going, is seeing people crack that aha moment and just really step into who they are fully at their core, which is love. Love.
And it's it's a reward, so don't tell them. So I feel rewarded by experiencing goosebumps moments in that moment when they create that aha moment. It's like, oh, I see it coming, so, and I can easily access that as well. So that's just how it works, and why I cherish that so much. Yeah.
You're just a walking love being there, Uwe. You just are. So, okay, one more time. Give us the URL so people can, and again, I'm highly endorsing this. I really encourage my followers this weekend, if you can make the time for yourself and your family to jump on this. But how would people get involved in YFM?
Yeah, it's easy. You can also just go to my website, uwedockhorn.com. It's UWEDOCKHORN.com. And then on the top, you find a little help bar, and it just instantly click on it to YFM, or you just add at the end of uwedockhorn.com / and YFM, because it stands for Your Family Matters. And this is what this event is all about. Because your family matters.
Yes. Whatever your family looks like, however that manifests for you, it's not right, wrong, or otherwise. And that's another reason why I love working with Uwe, is because he's not trying to fit you into a box. He's trying to help you create the box that you want to operate in. That's your decision, not his. And I just wanted to thank you for being part of this LinkedIn Live and part of the cohort. We're still looking for projects with that special corporation that wants to work with 37 world-class coaches around the world. We'll find it, and hopefully they'll be able to experience the power of the transformation of the group. And your family does matter. It matters more than anything. So take the time to give it the nurturing and love that it needs by spending time with Uwe and these 48 incredible experts. So thank you so much. And we'll have another LinkedIn Live for you soon.
Thank you so much, Kelly. It was really a pleasure being here today with you, and thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Brother, thank you.